Okay, so in this third game, my opponent has been identified as Kaladeshi Wildlife, now, which probably means it's a green deck. This hand is interesting. I can probably kill my opponent's early play. I can deploy the Phoenix and then recur it a couple times with the Ravaging Blaze. It's not a bad hand. It is a hand more set up for the later game, and I don't have a ton of mountains, so I could lose if I don't draw any land. But we'll give it a shot. I guess I'm on the play, so I will throw out a mountain here and hope that my Fiery Impulse is good on turn 1. As expected, my opponent is a green deck. My opponent does not have a turn 1 play. Alright, but I am drawing the mountains I need. So, losing some tempo here, because I don't have any sort of 2-drop, but my plan is still to use the Fiery Impulse to kill anything the opponent might play, and that sets me up to play the Phoenix next turn. If my opponent has nothing... Oh, they have a Scavenging Ooze. Alrighty, so just like in that last game, I'm seeing a modern playable card here, actually a legacy playable card, I guess, coming from my opponent right away. Their entire strategy might be based around this card, so I'm really happy about the fact that I can use Spell Mastery to kill it right away. So it's going to enter the battlefield here, and I'm going to use the Fiery Impulse, kill Scavenging Ooze. Scavenging Ooze is a creature that gets really big really quick and gains life while it does it, so it would be a difficult thing for me to beat. As it is, I can deploy my Phoenix here, which is a difficult thing for my opponent to beat, although I imagine he might have some reach creatures to get in its way. Phoenix crashes over for 2 damage, and we begin the slow grind to my opponent's death. So, in the first game of this campaign, I definitely wasn't the beatdown deck. I was the slowest deck at the table. My opponent had a bunch of quick creatures, and I was trying to win with some bigger late game spells. The last game was a little more even. We were both playing a more mid-rangey strategy. Here, I imagine I might be the beatdown. I imagine my opponent might have some giant green creatures that I just need to get out in front of. I need to kill him before I see like a 6-7 Trampler or something from him. But this Badger don't worry me much. Speaking of giant worms, this Embermaw Hellion kind of boosts my other spells, so I'm going to want it to kind of help power up my Ravaging Blazes here. I really hope that I find another instant or sorcery before I have to cast these Ravaging Blazes so that they have Spell Mastery and I can deal damage to my opponent. I'm going to do my best to hold off playing them until that happens. As it is, I'm going to throw out a mountain. I'm going to deploy my Fire Fiend Elemental. I'm going to attack with both my creatures, and I imagine my opponent is going to feel like he absolutely has to block this Elemental. I don't mind that at all. If he doesn't block this Elemental, its Renown ability makes it stronger, makes it into a 4/3, so he's going to want to kill it now while he can. Oh, and I totally forgot how the ability on that thing works. Oh well, I guess his Badger lives. Shoot. Okay. Doesn't change anything for me. There was no way that I was going to get value out of that Elemental anyway, I don't think, assuming that he has a block to deploy here, which his attack suggests that he does. Yeah, so this is what I was afraid of. These big monsters are coming out quick for my opponent. My burn spells aren't at the point yet where they can deal with them, and I don't have the 5th land to deploy either of my big creatures. So I'm going to start taking some heavy hits here. I might actually be in a lot of trouble. I can still certainly get over there with my Phoenix. I could also use my Phoenix to block the Giant Badger. And then if I draw a mountain on my next turn, use the Ravaging Blaze to kill the Baloth, but that's not going to deal damage to me yet. I still need Spell Mastery. So yeah, I got to get in there with the Phoenix. Worried about this one. Worried that my hand was just too much set up for the late game, that I didn't have enough lands, and that my opponent has a stronger late game than me, so I had to be more aggressive. If that's the case, then I'll learn from this experience, and we'll come back ready to beat the opponent with a more aggro strategy next turn. He's going to come and deal me 6 damage. Nothing I can do to stop that. Hopefully he doesn't have another 4/4 or better here. Another badger. Not the worst. I can handle the badgers. Alright. A mountain isn't bad. A mountain isn't bad at all. It lets me deploy my creatures here as blockers, and sets me up so that I'll eventually be able to use these blazes to start dealing with some of these creatures, but I still would rather wait until I see another instant or sorcery before I do that. So we're just going to play the Fire Elemental here, and hope that that's going to discourage my opponent from attacking too much. I still feel like I'm the beatdown, so although I'm taking a lot of damage right now, I think if I stop attacking with my Phoenix, there's just no hope that I win in the long game. So I'm still going to get in there with my Phoenix. Having him down to 12 life is nice because it's just making it so much more likely that if I turn these things on, I can use them in quick succession to kill my opponent, even when it looks like my opponent is just way ahead on board. And I don't think there's anything that's going to stop my opponent from being way ahead on board right now. He decides to attack with everything. Alright, so I've got a couple options here. I can block one of the boars, which kills the boar, but then I take 6. Or I can block the Baloth, which means my Baloth and the Elemental trade, and I take 4. Because I've got another good blocker in hand, I don't mind trading off the Elemental. I'm going to go like this. He could have a spell like Giant Growth or something, which would make this my blocks bad no matter how I blocked. So there's no use playing around that. Instead, what he has is a Staff of the Wild Magus, which is going to allow him to gain life. I mean, that's not bad against a red deck, but I'd still way rather see that than another giant creature. As it is, I'm just getting more and more badgers from him. I guess that's the way it's going to go. Any sort of burn spell to deal 2 damage here would just be so good, but I didn't get one. I got a mountain. Okay, I'll deploy my Hellion as a blocker against his badgers. I will swing in with my Phoenix one more time. And we're good to go. Now, I'm very close to dead on board here. He's going to swing, well, he could swing with everything next turn, deal me 4 damage. I would be able to kill one of his badgers. And he could do the same thing next turn, deal me 2 damage, and I could kill another badger. He could be down to 2, which makes me dead to a whole bunch of stuff. And that's exactly what he's going to do here. But I'm not totally out of it yet. It's really going to depend a lot on what that last card in his hand is. There's probably no instants he could have that are going to let him deal an extra 4 point of damage. In fact, he's not even getting an extra 3 in there. The Ambush Viper is interesting. It means that I absolutely have to leave back my Phoenix next turn. Like if I don't have the Phoenix to block, then he's able to kill me with almost anything. But a Young Pyromancer means I can start just blocking with elemental tokens, and things really aren't that bad. So I'm going to have to use one of my Ravaging Blazes. I'm going to use the Ravaging Blaze to kill one of the Badgers, which is also going to produce an elemental token for me. So at that point, I'm not too sad about the fact that I don't have Spell Mastery. I'm actually at a point where I feel like I can win the late game now, thanks to Young Pyromancer having shown up, and me knowing that I'm going to get way more creatures out of it. So, I will attack in with my Phoenix. Oh, the Young Pyromancer just saved me so much trouble. Like, even though I'm down at 4 life and I'm dead to a lot of things, I just feel so in control of the game now that I have him out. my opponent's got in store for me. Probably nothing until at least after he attacks. Okay, he's just going to attack in with the Viper here. That's cool. What I'm going to do is use the Ravaging Blaze for 2 damage to kill the Badger. Before it does anything else, though, it's going to make an Elemental token from my Young Pyromancer, and then that Elemental token can act as my blocker against the Ambush Viper, so that I don't get poisoned by it, and I don't lose any of my good creatures to it. Confirm that block. Now we're good to go. Did my opponent have anything to finish up with? He has a Spider Silk Net. Okay, this is interesting. This is going to allow his boar to start blocking my Phoenix, or it would if I wasn't able to just use Ravaging Blaze to kill his boar, swing in with all my creatures, and win the game. So yeah, I was in a bit of trouble there for a second, down to 4 life, facing a board that looked like it was going to kill me. But you can see as soon as I got Young Pyromancer out, all my blocks got better, my defense became much more impregnable. I could start deploying my spells for more value, and just like that, I've got a lethal board of monsters, not to mention the damage I deal to my opponent based on my spell mastery. I attack with everything, and that's the end of the game. Okay, so I'm going to end this first video there, I think. Would love to hear your feedback. Would love to know if you thought this was interesting. Would love to know if you would like to see me finish off the last 2 Chandra missions, or move on and do Liliana's if you think that you've got the red deck kind of figured out at this point. Cool. Thanks for watching.